Thank you all for coming. As I mentioned before, we're trying to do each of the sessions with a daytime weekday option and also a weekend evening option in hopes that we can get nice attendance at each depending on people's availability. So this session is for the chapter programs on window collisions. And the work that we did since basically in 2025, so through the course of this year. And just as a refresher, in 2024, at the retreat in Hamilton, we had decided on this as a topic for everybody to kind of work on in their own way throughout both New York and Connecticut. So chapters kind of took on their own projects, and we applied for the council grant for one of those larger Audubon and Action grants in order to provide the resource materials. So the booklets and the table banners and stickers and brochures and things like that that we distributed last spring. So it's been really great. I'm happy to share what we did at our chapter, but I want to kind of give everybody else the opportunity to share their work first. And just briefly, let's go around and just let everybody know like your name and what chapter you're from and where your chapter is located, if that's not indicative. So I'm Susan O'Handley. I am with Delaware Otsego Audubon Society in the Cooperstown and Oneonta, New York region. And Dennis, do you want to go from there?
Dennis Reardon, President of Mononkatuk Audubon in New Haven area. Loretta. Loretta frozen? Loretta, go ahead.
I don't think she hear you. Loretta?
Oh.
Okay, want to go to Martin?
Go.
Yeah, I'm Martin Vandegritten. I'm with Chemung Valley Audubon, and we're located in Elmira Corning, which is in the southern end of the Finger Lakes region.
Great. Doug?
Yeah, I'm Doug Bloom from Bronx River Sound Shore Audubon in Westchester County. One of 4 now in Westchester County.
Great. John?
Yeah, I'm John Turner, a conservation co-chair of Four Harbors Audubon Society, which is located on the North Shore, centrally located in North Shore, Long Island, incorporating the town of Smithtown and northern Brookhaven town.
Great. Jessica?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Wilson. I'm Executive Director of New York City Bird Alliance, formerly New York City Audubon Society in New York City.
June, do you want to go next?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm June Summers with Genesee Valley Audubon Society in Rochester, New York. And Loretta's with me, by the way.
Okay. Her sound was working before because she was able to speak, so I'm not sure what happened there.
I'm with them too.
Oh, that's Kathy Rainwater.
Yes, Kathy's with me too.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, Kathy. Laura, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Network Engagement Manager for the for Audubon's New York and Connecticut office. Good to see you all.
Great. Byron?
Byron Young, Eastern Long Island Audubon. We have the town's eastern foot, Patchogue, Riverhead, Southampton, and East Hampton.
Nice. Let's go to Peggy.
Hi, I'm Peggy Lauber from North Fork Audubon, so we're just to the east of Byron's chapter. We're the east end of Long Island on the North Fork.
Great. Teresa.
Yeah, I'm Teresa Dilworth. I'm also with the North Fork Audubon along with Peggy.
Nice to see you. And Daphne.
Hi, I'm Daphne from Audubon, New York, the state office. I work closely with Laura, and I also help coordinate the in-person council meetings.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so I want to hear about your chapter's window collisions and lights out work. So if we want to go ahead and have somebody volunteer to go first?
I'll go first if that's okay. John Turner. This issue's been an issue of great concern to the chapter for a number of years, and we kind of reflected that concern by focusing on a few areas, geographic areas within the chapter, most notably the SUNY Stony Brook. The campus there has a lot of glass-skinned buildings, particularly the South Campus, or what we call SOMAS, which is the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences. It's a whole complex, I think 5, 6 one-story low-lying buildings that have highly reflective windows. And we documented years ago, really several dozen birds would die each year flying into the windows there. And so we've worked, both of the board as well as a lot of volunteers, putting up actually in the low thousands now of stickers of various types. Most recently, kind of the American Bird Conservancy adhesive stickers on the windows there, and that has been really very productive in bringing down mortality. And just like this for fall migration, we had 4 dead birds, which we would have had 40 if before the stickers were put up. And so we've put up the stickers there. We put some up on the main campus of SUNY Stony Brook, as well as what we call the incubator complex on the which is about a half-mile away. And then the other main building that the chapter's worked on is Brookhaven Town Hall, which has got a bunch of again ground to second floor windows that have been problematic, and we've done the same thing there of putting up hundreds of stickers on the windows there. And if I walked, because I worked there part time, I walked that once a week and have not had any dead birds in 6 months. So it's really good there. And then the last thing I'll say worked on is on the legislative front. So we work closely with the Central Pine Barrens Commission, which is the commission that oversees development in parts of the Long Island Pine Barrens, what we call the compatible growth area, where development is allowed, compared to the other part of the Pine Barrens, the core, where there is no development allowed. But anyway, they revised their comprehensive management plan, and we were able to convince them to add a new bird-friendly building standard that would guide or relate to industrial and commercial buildings that take place within, again, the compatible growth area of the Pine Barrens. So any new development there would have to incorporate bird-friendly building design. So those are the kind of the main things that we've been working on at the Full Harvest Audubon chapter.
That is wonderful. I love that. And I want to hold questions to the end, but I want to make notes of them. So I want to come back to you at the end to talk about like what relationships you forged and how you went about that. Because I think that's a challenge for a lot of people when talking about kind of getting this accepted by commercial building owners and also through like those legislative bodies. So
Right. Okay.
that
Sure.
would be great. Okay. Anybody want to go next?
Well, I'll take a shot. Byron Young with Eastern Long Island. We just had our annual dinner, middle of October, and we handed out the stickers to people who showed up for the dinner. So we've gotten some of them out. Our territory doesn't have necessarily the large buildings that John's does, but folks have large sliding glass doors and the likes. And so I think we're making a push to have the stickers made available to homeowners as best we can. We haven't done a lot of outreach on that yet, but probably will over the coming year.
Byron, I got to say, I think that's a wonderful idea that you did.
Well, thank the people who went to the last council meeting and brought back all of the materials.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, and I agree that residential sliding glass doors and working with homeowners is really a big piece of this. And I'll get back to some of that when I am able to share some of my numbers with my report. Uh, I also, what I love about the sharing session and kind of the ability to hear what other chapters are doing is it may spur some ideas for you, Byron, for different things that you may want to do in 2026. Who'd like to go next?
I'll go. We did a couple of workshops on Acopian bird savers, and we've retrofitted 5 buildings in the New Haven area with feather-friendly stickers. We had assistance of the fire department with one to get to some of the taller windows. So it's been an interesting year.
Thank you, Dennis. Anybody else?
I'll
June?
go. We were able to get to do 3 slideshows or PowerPoint presentations. And in the past, we've well, one of the PowerPoint presentations was to the Monroe County Environmental Management Council, which is made up of representatives from the towns in the county that are supposedly on their environmental boards, which I believe most of them are. And they were really excited and to learn about the different ways that you can protect your windows so that birds won't collide into them. And so it was a great presentation. They were excited to learn about how you can protect windows so birds don't collide. And so, it was nice to have 27 people learn this information to take it back to their towns. And that I think was one of our best efforts. And we had several years ago, we had started doing this work, and we had a plexiglass exhibit that we took tabling to Bird of Prey Days in April. And it had feather-friendly, the Acopian method, and then let's see, and white lines, vertical lines, and another method on the display. And we gave out the brochures as well. And we've been working with a group at the University of Rochester. We sponsored the printing of 11 10-by-5 panels to go on one of the buildings, the art building at the University of Rochester, that to protect those windows from bird collisions. And we're still working with the professor to have them installed, because you have to have Kaleidoscape has to be approved as a vendor by the university. So we're still working on that. So we're hopeful.
Thank you, June. I know 2 of the campus chapters that have been in touch over this fall, Union College and SUNY Binghamton, are both working on campus programs as well. And they're in various stages of kind of getting things set up to do in 2026. But again, there's that challenge of working with faculty and like all the rules and regulations on these things that, like, if we know about them in advance, it can help people prepare. So I think that input is going to be really valuable.
So what were these panels?
Their artwork that the college students did.
Okay.
And they, I can bring one up if you'd like.
No, I just was curious what they were,
They're,
if they were,
it-
so it's
they're-
actually a display they'll have on campus.
right, it's
Okay, okay.
all white. They're all
Mhm.
white artwork that
Nice.
the students did. And I know one of them is a tree with people standing in front of it or beside it, and it includes the roots of the tree and the trunk and the canopy of the tree. I know one had a toad in it, you know, with a pond. So they're different pieces of artwork these
Okay.
students did. And as I said, they're 10 feet by 5 feet wide.
Okay, and those are kaleidoscope images, so they're on that film.
Yes,
So what you're saying is panel is actually a film covering.
yes,
Oh, over the
Okay.
windows. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
yes, for the window, for
Oh,
these 10 by 5
okay.
feet windows.
Okay. Gotcha.
So they're this particular teacher or professor that we were working with is now changed to Rochester Institute of Technology. He was at Rochester University of Rochester, but he's still working with the art professor that students drew these pictures. And so he's assisting her with getting through the paperwork of having Kaleidoscape approved as a vendor. And then you have to pay for a lift and people to put the artwork up. So the utilities will have to approve that. And that's another step. And I know I was, if you're online or on, not Box, but the other platform, there's another woman out west who's also going through the same problems of getting through the red tape of trying to get protection on windows for
Right.
birds. at
For
a university.
Audubon Works probably is
Audubon Works, thank you.
what you were thinking of.
Yes.
I did hear of one person who collaborated with their local fire department for the lifts to actually install on the higher elevated,
Mhm.
windows. So like, think of that as a potential option.
That
Good
would be-
partnership with your, local community and your fire department.
Yeah, we did that, and fire department brought one of their huge ladder trucks, and we're able to do the really high ones. And then they just used ladders for the not quite so high ones.
Nice. Anybody want to volunteer to go next?
I know.
Jessica? Oh, Jessica and then Doug. How's that?
So I'm with New York City Bird Alliance, and we're a little bit outside of this collaborative grant, since New York City Bird Alliance does so much on collisions, but I thought I would share some highlights and offer some resources in case it's helpful for all of you. So New York City Bird Alliance has made collisions a priority for at least 30 years. Given the visibility we get in New York City. Of course, it's not just glass skyscrapers in the city that are the cause of bird collisions. As you all know, the vast majority of collisions happen at residential buildings and at lower buildings in suburban and urban areas. We know that New York City is a magnet for press and for visibility, so we make it a priority in the city. And we tackle the problem of collisions through science research, through community engagement, and policy and advocacy. And I'm happy to share some highlights of what we got done this year.
Beautiful, thank you. Go for it.
So we are working on some research to quantify the extent of collisions in New York City. For years, we've been saying it's 250,000 birds die each year, but we think that's vastly undercounting them. So we're working with the city's Department of Buildings and other data we have to show that it's probably more like 500,000 to 1 million birds die in New York City every year. That's a follow-up to the paper we released last year. That's now the cited statistic that more than 1 billion birds die every year in collisions across the country. It's 1 billion with a B. So I hope all of you are using that statistic. I'm happy to share the paper, but that's now the cited statistic that ABC and others use. We're building on that to push National Audubon Society to make this a real priority. And I'm not sure if any of you joined our roundtable at the leadership conference in Montreal, where several folks involved with collisions sat down with the head of conservation, Marshall, to show the data that collisions actually affect populations. And it's a significant driver of population decline, not just individuals. So I'm hoping that both through this grant and all the interest Susan spoke about earlier, National Audubon will start making it a bigger priority. We consult with a lot of organizations through our science research on collision monitoring programs to help quantify the scale of that work. And this year we've consulted with several organizations, mostly Audubon chapters across the country, about starting and managing collision monitoring programs. We're going to be putting out a paper about that soon, but I wanted to offer my chapter, the scientists at my chapter, to do Zoom meetings or calls with any of you if you are looking for help either getting collision monitoring off the ground or just maintaining it, because that data is so critical to convincing decision makers, both property owners and managers, as well as elected officials, about the importance. And then we consult on retrofits too. It sounds like you have some great work underway. This year we've worked with the Metropolitan Museum, with the Central Park Conservancy, and with CUNY to do retrofits or include bird-friendly glass in their buildings. Great to hear about other campuses doing that work, especially SUNY, because we're trying to get CUNY to pay attention. And so if SUNY is doing it, then CUNY should. So I think that was John, you mentioned SUNY, right? I'd love to talk.
Some others did too, yeah.
Right, I'd love to talk with you because we need a little extra push for CUNY, and maybe the SUNY system can help. We do a lot in community engagement too, just getting New Yorkers, both our followers as well as general New Yorkers, to be more aware of the program. So we ran a few events for New York City Bird Alliance members this year about collisions at the Metropolitan Museum, and then shadowing one of our volunteers. We had about 70 people join those events. But across the city, we manage a team of about 150 volunteers that do collision monitoring, and then another 100 volunteers that help pick up injured birds and bring them to rehab centers. So it's a lot of folks who are, primed and ready to take action on our third priority, which is advocacy and policy. So while it would be great to get individual buildings to retrofit their glass, we know that a stick is much more effective than a carrot in this case. And so creating the structural and systemic change is what's really going to save the birds. So this year we testified at the Chicago City Council and Jersey City Planning Board meetings in favor of bird-friendly legislation. And we're working on legislation in New York City on lights out requirements and bird-friendly building design. Those have been introduced and we're waiting to get those moving ahead. But especially important for all of us is a new bill that we hope State Assembly member Linda Rosenthal will be introducing soon, that creates a tax incentive for New York State buildings to use bird-friendly glass. That we're working on some revisions to that bill, and we hope it will be introduced soon, and we need everybody across New York State to help advocate and spread the word about the importance of this. So I'm sure Erin and Laura will be sending information out about that once that has been introduced.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. That's a lot. And I know Buffalo has been in touch with me about potentially doing something, and they were looking for data on monitoring, and I told them that you guys would be the resource to help them try to gather some of that data on like what is the issue in their city.
Absolutely.
So,
for any chapter, for any of you, we have talking points, we have data, we have best practices, we have really compelling stories from volunteers, we have social media toolkits. I know with Susan, you have a lot of that in hand, but if there's any other ways that we could be helpful, please reach out.
Thank you. We have Teresa Murphy, who has joined us from Capital Region. So not to call you out, Teresa, but just saying hi. We're just sharing what we did for our window collision work this year. Is there a chapter that would like to go next that has not yet gone? Doug, that's right.
I know we gave stuff out at our bird day in Mount Vernon, but there is a development that they want to put in the town of Mamaroneck that I went to try to talk them not to do because it backs up to a tidal marsh. And I mentioned the thing about bird-friendly glass. And the planning board said, oh, we don't have to follow that. We're not in the city and it doesn't care what the state says. Now I went to at least 6 public hearings about this and told them it's it's not a good place to put it. It's a state and federal DEC 66-acre marsh. They don't care about bird-friendly glass or anything else. They do what they want to do. And I complained to their lawyer that said, because I asked a question, about the marsh, and they said, oh, this isn't the time or place to talk about that. So.
Interesting.
But I just, but other than that, we really, because we have mostly houses, but we gave out things at the bird day and probably at our annual meeting, we had some of the stuff out, but it's just, there's not a lot in our chapter area. But, we try to impress that they should put bird-friendly glass in. And they said, oh, we don't live in the city. We don't have to worry about that.
Well, I think the linking up the challenge with population declines, like our chapter focused on working with homeowners, and it's just numbers. I mean, it really is. And every house with windows protected is potential reduction in bird deaths. So we did some calculations for our report, and I'll share them in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but this thing is two 4-story buildings with 36 apartments in it.
Well, hopefully, there are some things legislatively that may impact that going forward, and certainly the program that Jessica was talking about may also have some impact, and certainly the awareness about it. So like our opportunity, I think, is in public awareness and engagement about this as an issue, where you can put some public pressure, maybe letters to the editor or something like that on to increase visibility and, kind of get people thinking of that as something that we need to change. But looking forward to hearing more discussion about it when we're done.
Yeah, but the Gannett papers don't seem to put anything in, even if you were to send something.
Put it on your website, put it in your newsletter, like those types of tools are available to you. Post it on social media, definitely. And I think Jessica is a good person to link up with for some of that material to like just promote for awareness. I want to keep going so that we don't miss anybody on the sharing part. So let's go to, who haven't we heard from yet? Peggy?
Yes. Well, Jessica's a tough act to follow, let me tell you.
Yeah. we can't compare ourselves with that.
But what I would say is I wanted to be involved today, mostly to hear what everybody else is doing and what are, to get some ideas of things we can be doing. Because really, we're members of the Southold town, where most of our chapters located. We're members of the Dark Sky Alliance there, so And that's been, they've been pretty quiet the past year. So there hasn't been a lot going on with them, and we don't have any large residential buildings anywhere in the North Fork. It's very rural here, so it's obviously we need to just focus on homeowners. We do have people inquiring, but anyway, I'm just looking for ideas because basically, we haven't done anything. So
Okay, that's fair. Teresa, with Capital Region, do you want to share what you did at your chapter?
Had to unmute. We have had meetings for a few years now. I mean, presentations we've done for a few years on bird window collision, and it's worked well. People were quite surprised about how it affects how many birds and all of that. We plan to do more stuff, continue doing that. A while back, about a year ago, we did write a letter to all the mayors of the major Albany, Schenectady, and Troy. When I heard back from Albany, stating about this initiative and what we're looking at doing with this. And didn't hear anything. I heard some things from Albany, but it really didn't pertain to much, come to much. So I got talking when I saw, Rockland County had the Tappan Zee Bridge. I still call it the Tappan Zee Bridge.
I will too.
Had the Tappan Zee Bridge lights out, dim during migrations. So we're gonna try, and I did contact OGS because the problem here in Albany is the Empire State Plaza towers, the big buildings. There's some others in Albany, but those three are really the most obvious ones. And I did send an email to part of OGS, I forget who it was. Never heard back. So I talked to Rockland County, and she was real helpful. She's gave me some samples of what they use in the letter. And we're going to have a meeting tonight, actually, a Zoom meeting for my chapter meeting. And we're going to go over this and kind of work with this right now as our main effort, So we're going to hopefully see if we can push to have the same thing done on those Empire Plaza buildings, dim them during, peak during the migrations. Now, I know they have to keep some lights on the top for planes, so we're not looking at, causing any issues, but at least to dim it, because sometimes they just light them all up and they change the colors, and, it just would be nice during migration. So we're going to see how it goes. So wish us luck.
That's awesome. I know I tell everybody about the Rockland County project, like getting the lights dimmed for
That's
lights
amazing.
out on the Tappan
Yeah.
Zee. It's such an accomplishment, and Christine is very shy about really taking credit for that,
Oh,
but
she
she did
should.
a lot of work for it, and I'm hoping that they can kind of write up their process a little bit, because that may be helpful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
no, I just saying that she, is helpful so far, and hoping that one state agency has gone along with it, maybe another state agency, would go along, because I think I definitely will mention it, because when I sent the first letter OGS, they didn't know that this didn't happen or whatever. So maybe this will push it along, and we're going to send it out to the legislatures again. And I've already talked to some of them in person at events, so we'll see what happens.
Great. So I think I'm the last one, so I'll give the nutshell version of what we did at our chapter. We started out in the spring with 5 homeowner workshops. We did them in kind of the outlying areas in our chapter region in an effort to kind of bring in people that might not typically engage with us. We partnered with 5 different locations for each of those and 5 different groups of college students. So we had, it was great. We partnered with the Binghamton campus chapter for the first workshop in Sydney and have really just started a really beautiful relationship with their chapter. They're slightly out of our chapter region, but they're the closest one to us, and they came and helped, and they were wonderful, and we've engaged them in a couple of different ways since then, and it just makes me so happy. So we're in the middle of like 4 other college campuses that are within our chapter region, but there's no Audubon chapter, and it is difficult to kind of get a point person for those types of things. But we did find people at 5 different colleges, which is great. We also did, through those workshops, we basically had about 32 total homeowners that participated with us. And since we finished the workshops, we've had about another 16 homeowners that have come in and ordered window supplies for their households. We've protected about 200 windows total through the program. And we figure, you know, at each of those households, if you figure we can decrease deaths by 15 per year over the next 15 years, that is like 700 and some odd birds deaths prevented per household, and then multiply that by about 40 households that we've reached so far, and we're close to like 10,000 birds over 15 years. So we love the numbers. We're going to use that and just as an estimate of, what kind of a difference this can make to actual populations and bird deaths. We also used the webinar template. We modified it a little bit to add a little bit more on lights out work. I did that as like our Earth Day presentation for a general program on Zoom. And then I had an adult and continuing education class contact me to see if I could do it for their program this fall. So I've done 2 of those so far. I have it out there that, I'm willing to share that information and do that upon request for other groups as well. We also ended up doing Birds in the Anthropocene, which is the art project that we did at the at the spring council meeting last year, and people loved it. To just make a bird replica that represents one of the birds killed in the big window collision in Chicago, that they're going to do an art project of. They're going to make like a football field size length map, carpet of dead birds, basically replica dead birds that are made out of fabric. They're not real, but they are correlated to the actual dead birds that were found in that big, huge window collision and all the collisions in Chicago over that year, which I think was 2023.
23.
Possibly. It was 2023. So they took all the birds that were known to have died in Chicago due to building collisions, and they mapped out like how many of what species, and those are the birds that they're crowdsourcing to have made for this art project, which hopefully will travel and that we can get it here in our area for some special event someday when it's done. So we did that. I had about 35 people participate with us through those. It was wonderful. And then we also ended up doing a bird migration challenge game out of the Flying Wild curriculum. And we set up like yard signs with signage that we set up at our sanctuary around the perimeter, and had that run for a couple of months. We just left the materials up, and we have a little outdoor storage bin, and people can sign out materials, and they can be a bird during a migration challenge and see if they survive the trip. So each station, there's about 26 different stations, and there's giant dice that the person would roll to go to the next station. And I'm going to try to bring it to the spring council meeting in Southbury when we go there. Maybe I can set it up at Bend to the River or something the day before, and see if we can set it up so that you can have a visual of what that is. But it's a lot of fun. Anybody can play. It just reinforces the challenges of migration. And I have since, we took it down after our open house in October, but then Northern Catskills was in attendance there, and they borrowed it, and they've had it at a couple of different library locations through the month of October and into early November. So A lot of fun, just some visibility to the challenges of migration, and kind of ties in with all the other work that we're doing. So that's all I have. I do want to come back. Did anybody have questions for any of our chapters about their program or about some of the logistics?
Susan, can I just ask, Jessica, you had mentioned, I think, an assembly person that's going to be introducing that legislation that might provide tax credits. I couldn't catch the name. Could you say it again?
Sure, it's Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, who's
Oh,
from
Rosen. Okay, yeah.
New York City, but a great champion for birds across the state.
And this will be new legislation? It's
It'll
not
be
been.
new legislation. I'm trying to figure out the status right now. We had requested, she had worked with us to put together the language, and then we requested some revisions, and I'm not sure it's been introduced yet.
And it would be a tax credit. What tax would it affect? You know?
I don't know. I can find out more for you.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe it's posted on the State Assembly website, and they don't yet have a Senate champion.
Okay.
So if anybody knows a state senator who's really strong on this, we can help Assemblymember Rosenthal find somebody.
Great, and Dennis did post for the contact for Hannah Partridge for the Bird Friendly Buildings Community of Practice. So they meet maybe once a month or once every other month and get together with chapter leaders from all across the US and talk about kind of bird-friendly buildings and things that people are doing and questions people might have and inroads that we're making. So I would definitely suggest that. I did miss the roundtable because that session at the leadership conference conflicted with the storytelling sessions. So I didn't get to that one, unfortunately, but was still able to connect with a good number of people about it.
Can I
Byron?
Yes,
follow up
Jessica.
with some information about legislation in Connecticut? You know, a couple of years ago, we passed the lights out law for state buildings. And as with a lot of legislation, it's falling short. The state court system seems to think that they're not part of the state government. So they don't need to turn their lights out. Right now, the Dark Skies in Connecticut is suing them to get them to comply with the law, but it also points out that the law needs a little bit of tweaking, and we've got a short session of the legislature this year coming up, so it's not going to be anything done there. Maybe introduced to get the idea in legislators' heads, but the following year probably have to make a big push to get revisions to the legislation.
Thank you, Dennis. And you guys do have like a great prototype for a program, statewide. So I also had recommended for Buffalo to reach out to Craig at the state office. I know they've already been in touch with Meredith Barger. So, Byron, you had a question for Jessica.
Jessica, yes. Jessica, you mentioned that there were 1 billion birds died from window collisions, and then you said you had a citation that documents that figure. Can you share that citation with us?
I sure will. It's in the journal PLOS1, and if you give me a sec, I'll dig it up and I'll drop it into the Zoom chat right here.
Great, thank you.
Let me say something else about colleges then. A group at Yale contacted us last week about a concert that they were running to support Mononkatuk. It was a benefit concert for Mononkatuk. And while I was talking with the organizers, they were mentioning the Yale School of Management building, which is all glass, major bird killer. And they don't want to do anything with it because they don't want to make it look ugly. They want to keep the look. The building is directly across from the Yale Peabody Museum and its bird collection and the ornithology department at Yale. And it's like, how crazy is that? But these kids are going to keep working on it, and we'll see what happens.
Actually, the Union College, we did a presentation there last month, and they're having a new walkway, glass walkway connecting two buildings put in. And they've had issues with the older one. Supposedly they said that it was treated, the school told them somehow, but we're not sure if it is. So they're trying to get the school to do something for this new glass walkway. So we're waiting to get information on them doing that. They have issues, with bird collisions. So the ornithology chapter for Union College is trying to work on that. So it seems crazy about this other one in, where was it again? Dennis, and where, what?
Yale, the
There,
Yale
yeah.
School of Management.
That's crazy that they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And we said there's ways to do it. It's not that noticeable. It's not going to just, they'd rather see the birds die.
Yeah, Union College also said that they have a pollinator garden and there's first story windows that they're trying to get the funding and the kind of the permissions in order to do those windows there as well.
Yeah, Carol and I took a walk over there with the president of the ornithology chapter and showed us. And it's beautiful, but yes, it's right in front of these glass windows and it goes quite length of the building. Again, we don't think there's anything on the windows that's preventing bird collisions. So I know that's another thing they're looking into that also. So hopefully they get to work on that, and if we can help them with it,
Nice. Great. Anybody else? Questions, comments, discussion? I love some of the ideas. The background image that I'm using here, the Acopian bird savers. Jeff Acopian, whose family kind of invented the concept for these, had reached out to me once he heard that I was doing workshops with homeowners on them. And he tracks the locations of like all the places you can find them by city, state. And it turned out we had a Zoom meeting and I was looking at him on Zoom and realized that these are his windows. So I was a little bit embarrassed, but he wasn't mad at all. So, but homeowners love them and they are so happy to be taking action and doing something that's actually going to prevent birds from dying. I'm surprised at how many people have emailed me and said that they have birds that actually go through their windows and shatter them. I did not even think that that was possible. But I've heard of at least 3 different people just in my area who said they had a bird come right through the window and please can we help make them bird savers for their windows. So, yeah. Great. So we've basically have everybody here on Wednesday at noon. This is our next daytime session. We are going to be talking about how to use some of that Explorer data from Migration Explorer into our programs and projects and stories. So I think that will be a really nice setup for the last program. So we have 3 different programs. We have the window collisions program, and then the second is the data about bird migration and Audubon data and how to access and use it. And then the third program is going to be the feature on how chapters are using that currently for some of their hemispheric work. So I'm hoping that this is a nice setup for everybody to think about your collaborative grant applications for next year. They're due December 1st. and maybe put in a project for continuing some of your window collisions work, or putting in for funding to help you with some starting work in the hemispheric space, making use of some of that data. So looking forward to learning more and seeing what everybody does. So, and if you are applying for those grants, Laura, do you want to hear from people with like an overview of what they're planning?
I am happy to. I do not need to. However, folks are being urged, as usual, encouraged to reach out to me and chat through project ideas. There are also office hours that have been set up by the by my national network colleagues, and I have the link right now. Actually, I'll put it in the chat as we speak, which is the link to sign up for office hours with that team. I think that can suffice as well, but I would love to hear from you too. Even if it's just dropping me an email and say, hey, I chatted on the office hours with Gregoria or with Hannah or whoever. This is what I'm thinking of. That would be great for me to know. But I don't, we don't need to schedule time, but I'm also happy to schedule time. I actually just had a chat this morning with somebody from one of the chapters, just called me out of the blue, and I happened to have the time, and we chatted for about a half an hour about some ideas around what he's thinking. So that kind of thing is welcome. And so reach out to me anytime. I will make time for you, or yeah, I will give you some pointers, some thoughts. And yeah, I'm excited about it. And I'm glad there was an extension. That gives you all a little more time to think, I hope. So yay for that.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that too. I'm also going to pop the link back in there for the data report for the grant. So basically, I'm trying to compile, I did take notes, so I do have some of that, but I'm trying to compile the data of kind of how many people did you reach? I think those are the numbers. How many people you reached through anything that you did on window collisions this year? And then how many of those people were perhaps new to your chapter? And I'll hit the link on that. I think basically, if you can fill it out to the best of your ability, if you haven't done so yet, that will be helpful for me, so that when I put the grant report together for the collaborative, like all the resources, how it supports, you know, how it worked to support programming throughout the state. This is part of kind of what I want to submit as part of that. It's kind of what they're looking for on the reporting end. So I have not yet done that, but I have heard, thankfully, from, you know, a good number of chapters so far, but not everybody. Just hoping to boost that out, and whatever I don't hear, I'll just use my notes to the best of my ability to kind of get that information supplemented. So good. Because my hope is that they're going to love the collaborative concept, and that when we go back to them again in the future for something to do statewide, they'll have no problem. Like, it'll be a no-brainer for them to go ahead and fund it. So I kept, you know, this year's program was an $8,000 grant. They do up to 15. So, you know, like, if we do well with this one and they like the concept and we can do some good work all together, maybe we can go for one of the 15s. So I have somebody coming in now, but I'm not sure if they were here before or not. So, so if nobody has any other questions or comments or discussion, I will go ahead and close it up for today and say thank you for coming, and we hope to see you on Wednesday or at any of the other time slot. That one flyer for the fall schedule has everything on there. So, and if you have any questions, just pop an email over to me. I think everybody has my email address. So, great.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks,
Susan.
Thank you. I appreciate
work,
you all.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great work.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Nice to
Bye,
see you all.
everybody.
Good job, everyone. Thanks, Susan.